I want to talk through the 4 key factors you need to understand before you retire, no matter how much money you've got. All right, the first factor that you want to think about when you're going into retirement is how much retirement income am I going to need off of my retirement investments? Am I going to need $20,000 in retirement income along with other sources of retirement income? Am I going to need $40,000 in retirement income? Am I going to need $60,000? Am I going to need $120,000 in retirement income off of my retirement investments like 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, annuities? How much am I going to need? Now, an easy rule of thumb, and you can do this with a napkin and a pencil, is the 25X rule. Take your expenses, multiply your expenses by 25. So let's use a good example. I'm just going to pull out my calculator, and let's say your annual expenses that you need is $60,000. Okay, so $60,000 is our annual expenses. Multiply that by 25. That gives us $1.5 million in retirement investments that we need before we retire. Now, that's just one rule of thumb, and it's a good way to start. But you can retire on much less, and you can retire on much more, depending on these other factors that we're going to talk about. Now, the second factor that you want to consider before you go into retirement is, where is my health care going to come from? Especially if you're going to retire at 55. You've got 10 years before you get to Medicare. So in order for you to retire at 55, if you're not military or government, or you don't have a corporate job that's going to give you health care for the rest of your life, or at least until you get to Medicare, you're going to have to determine, what's my health insurance premium going to be through the exchange, the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare, healthcare.gov. You're going to have to go there, put in your drugs, your doctors, your income, and find out how much a health insurance policy would cost for you and your spouse, and a dependent. Remember, your kids can stay on your plan up until age 26 as long as they're not married. So you've got to determine, how much is my health care going to cost if I retire early? And don't forget, your health insurance is not just your premiums, meaning what you pay. We pay Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's a monthly payment, our premium. But you also have copays, you have deductibles, you have out-of-pocket costs, you have covered and uncovered expenses. So you want to be very clear, how much is my health care going to cost before I step into retirement? Because keep in mind, health care is probably one of the top 3 expenses that you will face in retirement outside of your housing costs. All right, now the third factor that you want to consider before you retire, especially if you're thinking about retiring early, is, when am I going to claim Social Security? So keep in mind, you can claim Social Security at 62 and get 70% of your full retirement benefit. Or if you're born after the year 1960 or in the year 1960, you can claim Social Security benefits at 67 and get 100% of your full retirement benefit. Now, between ages 62 and 67, you can claim a benefit at 63, 64, 65, 66. It's an increased benefit until you get to 67, when it's your full retirement benefit. Now, between the ages of 67 and 70, you get an 8% increase on your benefit up until age 70. Now, Social Security calls it 124% benefit at age 70. Now, I call these people overachievers, broccoli eaters. So we want to have a good idea. If I retire at 55, if I'm doing retirement planning at 50 and I'm thinking I want to retire at 55, how many years are you going to need retirement income from your 401k, from your IRA, from your brokerage account before you take Social Security? Now, if you take it at 62, it's 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62. It's 7 years. If you wait until 65, it's 10 years. If you wait until 67, is it 12 years? Can your retirement investments sustain your retirement income, what you need in retirement to travel, to pay your bills, to see the grandkids? Can your retirement investments sustain the retirement income you need while delaying Social Security to 62, 63, 67, 70? Especially, have you run your retirement investments through a sequence of return risk, meaning the market falls early in your retirement? Now, we call this a Your Financial EKG. Deciding when to claim Social Security should be a part of a comprehensive financial plan. And if you'd like to meet with us, all the information is below. We would love to meet with you to go through your financial plan to give you a good idea. Can I retire at 55? Will I run out of money at my mid-70s? Can I make it to the end? Keep in mind, I like the book of Proverbs because there is a lot of wisdom. And this is what Solomon says. He says, good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. Now, whether you believe that or not, it's got some good wisdom in there. And that's why we want to have a financial EKG. Now, the fourth factor you want to be thinking about before you retire, especially if you're wanting to retire at 55, is taxes. I know, taxes. You definitely don't want to deal with the tax man in retirement, but unfortunately, most of you have pre-tax funds sitting in a 401k, an IRA, a TSP, or a 403b. Now, you might have a Roth portion in your 401k, 403b, but most of you, just from statistics and data, have the majority of your retirement assets in a pre-tax account. So what does that mean? That means when you take money out of that account, you are going to pay taxes on that money. So if you've got $1 million or $2 million in your 401k, how much of that 401k is actually yours? You could make the argument that only 80% of $1 million, about 800,000 over time, is actually your money, because 200,000 of that is going to go to Uncle Sam to pay taxes. The other thing you want to be thinking about is, especially if you're retiring before the age of 59 and a half, when it comes to taxes, is how am I going to get my retirement income? If all of your money is in a 401k and you pull that money out for retirement income before the age of 59 and a half, you're going to pay a 10% penalty along with taxes, unless you use two separate rules. One, the rule of 55, which just means if you have a 401k or a 403b and you're 55 years or older and you retire, you're terminated, or you quit, you can use that current 401k for retirement income and not pay the 10% penalty. You will still pay taxes, but not the penalty. And you need to make sure that your plan provider, your 401k, allows you to do that. That's the first rule. The second rule is called a 72T, substantially equal periodic payments, meaning you roll your money out of 401k, you put it into an IRA, and you set up a 72T with Charles Schwab or Fidelity or Vanguard, whoever your custodian is. You work with a qualified, certified public accountant, a CPA, who understands 72Ts and signs off on it, and you take those 72T payments for 5 years or age 59 and a half, whichever's longer. Then you can take the retirement income and not have the 10% penalty under the age of 59 and a half, but you still pay taxes. Taxman giveth, and the tax man taketh away. I don't think he's ever given me anything, though, as far as I know. Now, I can't predict the future. I had a glass ball, but I dropped it going up the stairs, so I don't know the future. Now, I know a guy who knows the future, but he doesn't let me in on some things like this. So that's why it's really important to do a financial EKG to understand, can I get to retirement? Can I get through retirement? And am I protected to stay in retirement? And if you would like to get a financial EKG with me or a member of my team, get below the description. In the description below is a link to get on our calendar for a complimentary call to discuss your retirement. And I would love to help you in your retirement. Thank you so much for watching today. God bless. Bye-bye.